Hello fellow haunters! Welcome to Grunge Haunts and Props. My name is Chris Leonardo and today we are going to be making a silicone block mold. We did a previous skull mold and it was a glove mold. This time we're actually using a different type of silicone and making the block mold that we made or are using for the lower mandibular jaw. So yeah, it's a really cool and easy process. I've got some really interesting techniques that save you a lot of time and money. So follow along and enjoy the video. All right, so we're gonna make a block mold here, and for the block mold, we're gonna use that block mold to make this lower jaw or mandible. There are some undercuts here that we're going to have to worry about. This is not going to be just a standard block mold. We're going to be making this into, let's see, a quasi cut mold. So we're going to end up cutting through the silicone to get these out. And I think I'm going to add some clay. We're going to add a little bit of clay on here so this is not such a thin section. So if you look at this little thin section, when I try to demold that is just going to break almost every casting. And then you're going to have this nodule inside of foam inside of the mold. So I want to just add a little bit of clay. Now for the clay you need, you want to make sure it's sulfur free. Sulfur will destroy your silicone mold. So make sure you have a sulfur free oil-based clay, and that way it doesn't dry out or shrink as much. And I'm not doing anything special, this is just trying to make this a little thicker so that it just doesn't rip every time. Okay, that should be enough right there. Okay, so for the actual molding process here, you're going to want to get some sort of, I use like a shelving here. It's got a monomer coating on top of it. So it's just your standard, like closet shelving. They all have this coating on here. And that helps just the silicone peel away from the base. So for the base, you can either get particle board that's coated with this monomer coating and then cut it down, or just get, a shelving section piece out from Home Depot or Lowe's. This one I actually found in the discount pile, so it was really inexpensive. And I can make all of my smaller molds on this one. Anything large, you're going to need to get a large piece of the particle board that is coated with this monomer coating. Okay, so we're not taking any measurements here. This is supposed to be pretty quick and easy. I am just going to put a bead of glue here, hot glue of course, on the lower jaw, and stick this right in the middle here, just like that. Before we put up the wall here, we're going to put some ease release. This is the ease release 200. Buy it on Smooth On or even Amazon. But this is specifically for silicones. You can also use it for resins too. So it's great to use inside of a silicone mold as well when you're doing like resins and that kind of thing. So make sure you get it all the way around it. Then you're going to wait 15 minutes and put another layer on there and then wait 45 minutes. Okay, so you want this to be 2 inches above for the, we're going to make a border, of course, like a wall around this with foam core. So we want this to be about 2 inches higher than the highest point, which looks like right here. So we're going to go with maybe not quite 2, I guess maybe just a full inch, maybe 1.5 inches. I'll do 1.5 inches higher. So we're going to go with 3 1/4. And this is super easy. We're just going to measure 3 1/4 on a piece of foam core. So you get this at just Michael's or wherever. Do not get the foam core at the dollar store. The foam core at the dollar store has a paper coating on the foam, and the silicone will just seep right into that. So you do not want the foam core from the dollar store. Okay, and we got the section of foam core here. Now you did cut it with a straight edge, but it is kind of, there's going to be some foam sticking out. So we're going to use just kind of the factory side here. It's going to be a little cleaner. And we're just going to go around this and just start marking. So we want to make sure that we're about 1/2 inch away from the widest part. So you want to kind of follow it along here. And we're just going to cut it as going. So we got this section here. Now when we cut this, we are only going to cut through the top layer. We do not want to cut it all the way through. And just break it like this. This is going to have to go this way. All right, now as you're holding it, you're just going to bring this side back in where you want to add another cut. And the reason I'm doing it this way instead of just making a square or a rectangle is that you're wasting a ton. So if I was to make this just square, I don't know if you can see this, let's do it from this side. If I was to make this just square, you got like 1.5 inches of silicone here because this is tapered, right? So this is all wasted silicone. Silicone is not super cheap. So I'm just spending a little extra time making sure that we're, at that 1/2 inch thickness, which is all you need. But also, not overdoing it in certain areas so that we're wasting a bunch of silicone. And it really is easy, especially with the foam core, because you're just going around and cutting through just, one section of it, or 1/2 of it. Now, all we're going to do is just glue the bottom of this part, and shouldn't have to do much more than that. So we've kind of built our wall here. Now we're going to do a whole bead of glue on the outside, So we look pretty stuck in there. I'm gonna show you what it looks like inside. So you can see basically about 1/2 inch minimum around the master here. Now you're gonna want to make sure you have some clay next to you or close by, especially for the wall that meets together that's completely open. You're gonna want clay in the bottom of this, especially. So I don't even wait for the silicone, I just put the clay on that section. You shouldn't need clay anywhere else. However, you want to keep it close by just in case, so that you have, you know, as you're watching it, if you see that there's a leak springing, you have the clay there immediately to put in place. I am going to do another bead of glue on the inside of where the ends meet, because this area, this section is kind of the biggest trouble area. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and mix up the silicone and pour some in. So for the silicone, it's this BB Dino Platinum 30A silicone. Okay, so this I got off of Amazon. It's the least expensive I could find. You can get Smooth On. It's a product that's tried and true, and it's a little more expensive. It's probably for a gallon of 30A Shore Platinum silicone. Smooth On is probably 179 bucks. This was 105. So I saved a little bit on that. Now, it doesn't have a lot of good instructions. And I have used this before, so I'm confident using it. And it is decent, and it works well. So I don't mind, you know, that it doesn't have instructions, just because I know what I'm doing slightly, somewhat. So anyway, so 105 bucks on Amazon for a full gallon. We're always going to do the B side first. These need to be shaken up a lot. All right, well, I've got one glove, completely out of gloves, so you know, hopefully I only get silicone on my right hand. We will see. Okay, to mix these, these are a 1-to-1 mixture by volume or weight, and so I just use these little ramekin cups, and I buy these cups at the dollar store, and buy my little popsicle sticks at the dollar store. I try to get as much as I possibly can at the dollar store. So for the popsicle sticks that are rounded, I'm just going to cut the end off so that it's flat with some scissors. This way I can actually get into the bottom here and scrape it properly. For the first one, we're not using a vacuum degasser, right? So we're gonna do some tricks here, and I'll show you how to do some tricks. Also, you know, we're not spending a lot of time on this mold wall, right? So I'm gonna show you some tricks on how to work with no degasser. So we're gonna limit the amount of bubbles that we have on here. Also, you know, being able to create this mold wall, you know, extremely fast. We're going to show you tricks on how to do that without having a silicone leak disaster, or minimizing the risk of a silicone leak disaster, which still is possible, I suppose. Now, if you saw the other video I have on the glove mold, we used that brushable mold on that, which had a really fast cure time. This is made for block molds, so it's going to have an extremely slow cure time. You want the brushable fast cure time so that you can do multiple layers. This, you're supposed to do it all in one shot. Now we are going to do it in a couple of different, in 2 different pours. And I'll show you what we're going to do there. Here we're just going to line up the A and B so that they're exactly equal by volume. And then, obviously once you mix these, that's when the clock starts. You got plenty of time though with these because it's non-brushable. I like that this one's already colored as well. That way it's easy to know when it's mixed together. Now with silicone, you don't want to whip this, right? You want to just slowly and steady, just go slow and steady on mixing it, scraping the bottom. Don't whip it, because that's going to introduce a lot of bubbles to this, and you don't want bubbles, right? Bubbles are the enemy. They are the bane of silicone molds, any molds really. And since we don't have a degasser, we're not using a degasser, we want to limit bubbles as much as possible here. So slow and steady, just keep stirring it. I'm gonna do this for at least a minute. And you can see that this, this is not gonna fill this whole thing, right? You know that, right? Just by looking at this cup. And that's because we're gonna do a preliminary, smaller one, and then we'll fill it up after this partially cures. So one of the tricks to eliminating bubbles is to have a high stream. So you're gonna pour it from a high point and allow the bubbles to kind of dissipate as it streams down. So we are just doing enough to just cover the bottom here. Just cover the bottom. Okay, there we go. And now, that is trick number 1. We're just going to cover the bottom. We're checking to make sure that I don't see any silicone coming out. If we see any silicone coming out right now, you want to plug it with the clay. We've got this just on the bottom, and now we're going to use a brush to brush on. I know I said this is not brush on silicone, but you can still brush on to eliminate bubbles, right? So you want to stipple out any bubbles that could possibly go, especially in the teeth. Okay, so I've moved the point of view here so you can see inside the mold and kind of what I'm doing. So I'm just stippling these teeth, especially the bottom of those teeth, to make sure that we get out any bubbles that could arise or happen on the actual master. So you're brushing this on, even though, you know, this is obviously a very light coat, right? It's okay, because when you put the next layer of silicone on after this partially dries, it's going to stick right to the silicone and be just as if it's one block piece. But especially like under here, bubbles can get trapped underneath the jaw. And you can just use the silicone that's in there already, sticking to the bottom. I'm just gonna brush it up. And if we just wanna hit these teeth again. Now, if you don't have time for this, totally understand, right? Just pour it in from that high point and let it seep into these spots, and hopefully, and oftentimes it will, you know, push out the bubbles if you do it that way. It does work. And if you don't have the time for this, then by all means, go ahead and do that, right? Because normally you would just pour this whole block up and then you would wait 4 hours or 6 hours at least, and then demold it, or wait for the next day and demold it. Well, we're going to do this, wait 4 hours, and then pour another batch on here. And the reason we're doing that is so that if there are any issues with the wall, we are not adding more weight to force that silicone out any leaks that occur. So this small layer of silicone will dry. There's not a lot of pressure trying to push out on these walls. And then once that dries, you can put the silicone on top of this silicone and you already have a barrier and you don't have to worry about any leaks. All right, so we're done with that first layer. We're gonna wait for 4 hours and we'll be back. It's not 4 hours, but you can see there is a small leak occurring right here. This is why you have the clay. Small little leak right there. So we're gonna push this clay right in that section and hopefully plug that leak before it gets, you know, out of control. And the leaks are gonna usually show up within the first 20 minutes or so. So you don't have to babysit this for 4 straight hours. We are getting some leakage here. So it is a good thing we're doing it this way, because if I had poured, you know, it all the way to the top here, this silicone that is slowly leaking would be gushing out right now. And that would be frantically putting clay in to hopefully stop these leaks. But right now, I think it's gonna be okay. Okay, looks like we're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait for about 4 hours and come back. Okay, it's been 4 hours. We're gonna test this out here, and but exactly perfect. It's still soft, but it's hard enough that it's gonna provide that barrier that we need between the new silicone and the bottom of the wall here. So all we have to do now is mix up another batch and let the rest in. For this one, I'm just gonna go to, well, we need probably about 3 times as much on this one as we did the last one. So I'm gonna go ahead and larger. So we're gonna go ahead and just go right up to the 3rd line of the 2nd row here and mix up another batch. That should be able to do it all in one. We'll see how. If not, we can always make more. This is a full gallon of silicone here, and we've used probably 1/10 of that. So we're probably in the range of $12 worth of silicone at the moment. So not bad. You know, if we hadn't, if we had made this just a big square, we probably would have almost had to double the amount of silicone used. And of course on this one, you don't have to worry about brushing it or any of that. And for the most part, don't have to worry about it coming out the sides or leaking as well. We can just kind of pour it in there and not worry about it. It's looking like we're gonna have to make another small batch. Close, but not quite. And with this batch, yeah, we're probably closer to like $15. $15 in silicone, really not bad considering we're going to be making at least 100 of these foam masks. Or foam jaws. Okay. There we go. Now we're just gonna let this one fully cure overnight. Okay, it's the next morning and everything appears to be dried. No leaks. So now we can just start breaking this wall down again and taking it apart. Looks pretty good, pretty solid. Definitely gonna have to cut quite a bit of this off here to get to it. So as I mentioned, this is gonna be a 2-cut mold. So we're gonna cut because the upper part of the jaw goes down so deep and it's so thin that we need to make or have 2 cuts on here so that when we cast this we can pry it apart, especially with the foam, which can break fairly easily. So when we're cutting, again, this is going to be a lot. You want to do in jagged lines here. Spread it apart with your fingers, and again, keep going in a jagged motion. And then when you get right to the master object, you want that to be straight. Go. So getting the master out can be tricky. Just keep working it out. Okay. Well, we got it partially out. So that's good. There we go. Okay. All right, this looks, really clean, really good. I'm going to clean up some of the top part of it here so that you can pour it in there easily. But you can see with what we cut, that looks like those seats in there really nice. Put a rubber band around that and that'll keep that in there, no problem. And it won't be such a struggle to get the castings out as it was with the master. But yeah, just a little bit of cleanup, and we should be good on this. Okay. Well, let's do a casting in this and see how it goes. Okay, we're just gonna do just a quick dollop of Loctite in here for a test run. See how it goes. Okay, let's go ahead and let that sit. Okay, we've let the foam cure here, and now it's time to take apart the first, or demold the first casting in here.
And here is the final product, a silicone block mold of a skull jaw. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, ring the bell to get notifications anytime we put out new content. I thank you for watching, and as always, happy haunting!